Imagine being told your child will never walk, never run, never even stand. For years, a billionaire's little girl lived behind fear, behind doctors' predictions, behind limits no parent could imagine. Her mother, desperate, tried everything money could buy, but nothing worked. Then, out of nowhere, a single dad arrived, a stranger with no titles, no fancy degrees, just patience, compassion, and an unusual way of listening. What happened next would shock everyone in that mansion. A miracle unfolded right before their eyes. Legs that had never moved began to respond. But it wasn't just about walking, it was about courage, trust, and love, and it changed everyone forever. In the next few minutes, you'll see how this single dad's simple, heartfelt approach gave hope to a family that had nearly given up. And the ending, it's so emotional, so unforgettable that you won't believe what this little girl can do. Stay with us because you will want to witness every moment, every tear, and every triumphant smile. This is a story about miracles in the quiet moments, about bravery in the face of fear, and how one person's kindness can change a life forever. Welcome to Brain Fuel, your ultimate source for jaw-dropping, emotional, and inspiring true stories. If you love stories that will move you, shock you, and leave you thinking long after, you're in the right place. Subscribe and hit the bell because here, every story fuels your mind and touches your heart. The scream echoed through the marble hall like a crack of lightning. Lily's small body slipped from the wheelchair and hit the cold floor with a dull sound. Her legs twisted beneath her awkwardly, refusing to obey her. The room froze. No one moved. No one breathed. The billionaire mother, Evelyn Hart, stood just a few steps away, her coffee cup slipping from her fingers and shattering on the floor. "No, no, no, no," she whispered, her voice barely there. Guests dressed in expensive suits stared in horror. Doctors who had been invited to the mansion earlier exchanged uneasy glances. Lily's eyes filled with tears as pain and fear crashed over her at once. "Mom!" she cried weakly, stretching out her hands. Evelyn rushed forward, dropping to her knees beside her daughter. "I'm here, baby. Mommy's here," she said, though her hands shook so badly she could barely touch her. This had happened before, too many times. Each fall felt like a reminder carved straight into her heart that no matter how powerful she was, she could not fix this. "Why does this keep happening?" Evelyn shouted suddenly, looking up at the doctors. "You promised me progress!" One doctor opened his mouth, then closed it again. Another looked down at the floor. No one had answers anymore. From the far corner of the room, a man stood quietly, holding a toolbox. His clothes were simple, worn at the edges. His face showed years of exhaustion, but his eyes were gentle. Daniel had been called that morning to repair the garden gate. He was supposed to stay invisible. Men like him usually did in houses like this. But as Lily whimpered on the floor, something tightened in his chest. He saw not a billionaire's daughter, but a child afraid of her own body. His hands clenched at his sides. He thought of his own son at home, of long nights, of learning patience the hard way. Evelyn lifted Lily carefully, cradling her as if she might break. Lily clung to her mother's neck, sobbing. "I tried, Mom. I really tried," she said between cries. "I know, sweetheart, I know," Evelyn replied, tears spilling freely now. The room felt thick with helplessness. Money couldn't buy silence for this pain. No check could erase it. Daniel took one slow step forward. The sound of his boots against the polished floor drew attention. Several heads turned. A few brows furrowed. Evelyn looked up sharply, her eyes red and burning. "Who are you?" she snapped. Daniel stopped, instantly aware he didn't belong. I'm Daniel," he said carefully. "I'm hired to fix the garden gate." A quiet ripple of laughter spread among the guests. One man whispered, "This isn't his place." Evelyn's jaw tightened. "Then go do your job," she said coldly. She turned back to Lily, her heart collapsing inward. Lily sniffled and stared at the floor, ashamed. Daniel didn't move. His heart pounded hard enough to hurt. "Ma'am," he said again, more firmly this time, "I know this sounds strange, but may I try something?" The laughter stopped instantly. Evelyn looked at him as if he had insulted her. "Try what?" she demanded. "What could you possibly do that my doctors couldn't?" Her words cut deep, but Daniel held his ground. "I'm not a doctor," he admitted. "I'm just a father." The room shifted. Some rolled their eyes, others leaned in slightly. Evelyn laughed once, bitter and broken. "This is not a bedtime story," she said, exhausted frustration. Lily looked at Daniel then. Her eyes were still wet but curious. "You have a kid?" she asked softly. Daniel's face softened instantly. "Yes," he replied, "a boy. He's your age." Evelyn's heart twisted at the sound of her daughter speaking to him. She wanted to scream, to protect Lily from disappointment yet again, but she was tired, so painfully tired. Her arms felt weak holding Lily, her soul even weaker. "What exactly do you want to do?" Evelyn asked quietly, her voice breaking. Daniel swallowed. "I just want 5 minutes," he said, pleading calm. "If nothing changes, I'll walk away." The doctors exchanged looks. One shook his head slightly. Evelyn stared at Lily's tear-streaked face. Lily clung to her mother's blouse and then whispered, "Mom, can we try?" Hopeful whisper. That was the moment Evelyn broke. Her shoulders slumped, her pride shattered. 5 minutes, she said quietly, exhausted surrender. Daniel nodded, relief flooding through him, quiet gratitude. He knelt slowly in front of Lily, lowering himself to her level, respectful care. The room held its breath once more, and for the first time in years, something unfamiliar stirred in Evelyn's chest. Hope. Fragile hope. Daniel's knee touched the cold marble floor as he knelt, but before he could say another word, Evelyn stood up abruptly. "Everyone, step back," she ordered, her voice sharp and trembling at the same time. The guests hesitated, then slowly moved away, forming a loose circle around Lily, Daniel, and her mother. Evelyn looked down at Daniel, her eyes burning with suspicion and fear. "Let me be very clear," she said slowly. "If you hurt my daughter, even emotionally, you will never work again in this city." Her words carried weight, power, and a warning. Daniel nodded without hesitation. "I understand," he replied quietly. Inside, his heart pounded violently. He had no plan written on paper, no medical language to protect him. All he had was instinct and experience earned through pain. Lily sat on the floor now, leaning against her mother's legs. Her cheeks were red from crying, her eyes swollen but alert. She studied Daniel closely, unsure whether to be afraid or hopeful. "Are you going to make me stand?" she asked suddenly. Daniel shook his head gently. "No," he said softly. "I won't make you do anything." Lily's shoulders relaxed just a little. Evelyn noticed that and frowned. Doctors had spoken for years using charts and schedules. None had spoken like this. Daniel turned his full attention to Lily. "Does it hurt right now?" he asked. Lily nodded. "Sometimes it feels like my legs don't belong to me," she whispered. Evelyn inhaled sharply, pain slicing through her chest. She looked away, unable to hear this again. Daniel, however, didn't flinch. "That must feel really scary," he said. Lily nodded again, biting her lip. Daniel placed his toolbox aside, deliberately slow. "Lily," he said gently, "I'm not here to fix you." The word hung heavy in the air. Evelyn snapped her head toward him. "Excuse me?" she said sharply. Daniel looked up at her calmly. "She's not broken," he said simply. The room shifted. Some guests exchanged uncomfortable glances. Evelyn felt something crack inside her chest. "Then what are you doing here?" Evelyn asked, her voice softer but still guarded. Daniel turned back to Lily. "I'm here to help you listen to your body," he said. "Sometimes our bodies whisper before they move." Lily frowned slightly. "Whisper?" she repeated. Daniel smiled faintly. "Yeah," he said. "They don't shout, they whisper." One of the doctors cleared his throat loudly. "This is highly unorthodox," he muttered. Evelyn shot him a look that silenced him instantly. "Enough," she said. Her heart was racing now, not with anger, but with fear of hope. Daniel leaned a little closer to Lily, keeping a respectful distance. "Can you feel the floor?" he asked. Lily pressed her palms against the marble. "It's cold," she said. "That's good," replied Daniel. "Cold means you're feeling it." Lily blinked. Evelyn watched closely, her breath shallow. Daniel continued. "Now don't move your legs, just think about them." Lily hesitated. "They don't listen," she said quietly. Daniel nodded. "That's okay, we're not asking them to listen yet." The room was so quiet that the sound of Lily's breathing felt loud. Daniel closed his eyes briefly, grounding himself. He remembered nights with his son, sitting on the floor after surgeries, learning patience through tears. "Tell me when you feel anything," Daniel said gently. Lily closed her eyes, her face tightening with concentration. Seconds passed. 1, 2, 3. Evelyn's nails dug into her palms. "I feel something," Lily whispered. Evelyn's heart leapt violently. "What kind of something?" Daniel asked calmly. "Like a buzz," Lily said. Daniel smiled wider now. "That's your body answering," he said softly. Evelyn felt her knees weaken. "This is ridiculous," one guest whispered. Evelyn turned sharply toward the sound. "Leave," she snapped. The guest backed away immediately. Daniel gently raised one finger. "Lily," he said, "wiggle your toes, not because you want to move, but because you're curious." Lily's brow furrowed. Nothing happened at first. Then, just barely, her toes twitched. Evelyn gasped loudly, her hand flying to her mouth. The doctors froze. Lily opened her eyes wide. "Did you see that?" she asked, her voice shaking. Daniel nodded slowly, his own eyes shining. "I saw it," he said steadily. Evelyn dropped to her knees beside her daughter, tears spilling freely. For the first time in years, the impossible didn't feel impossible anymore. The room felt different now, as if the air itself had shifted. Lily stared at her feet like they had betrayed every rule she had been taught to believe. Her toes lay still again, but the memory of that tiny movement burned bright in her mind. I did that?" she asked softly, afraid the answer might disappear if spoken too loudly. Daniel nodded once, slow and certain. "You did," he said. "Your body answered you." He didn't celebrate. He didn't clap or raise his voice. He stayed calm, like this was normal, like miracles didn't need shouting. Evelyn pressed her hand to her chest, trying to slow her breathing. Tears slid down her face freely now, not dramatic, not loud, just raw. She had paid millions to see even a hint of what she had just witnessed for free. The realization hit her hard. One of the doctors finally stepped forward. "It could be a reflex," he said cautiously. Evelyn snapped her head toward him, eyes blazing. "Or it could be hope," she replied sharply. The doctor fell silent. Daniel gently shifted his position, sitting cross-legged so he was eye level with Lily. "Lily," he said softly, "what you felt, that buzzing, that's your nerves waking up." Lily tilted her head. "Why now?" she asked, childlike wonder. Daniel hesitated for a brief moment. "Because for once," he said carefully, "no one was yelling at them. His words landed quietly but heavily. Evelyn's throat tightened painfully. She remembered years of pushing, demanding progress, begging doctors, begging Lily to try harder. "I'm sorry," Evelyn whispered without realizing she had spoken. Lily looked up at her mother, startled. "For what?" she asked, confused innocence. Evelyn brushed Lily's hair back with shaking fingers. Tender regret. "I'm sorry for making you feel like your body was failing me," she said. Heartfelt apology. Lily stared at her for a long moment, then leaned into her touch. "I just wanted you to stop being sad," she said quietly. Evelyn broke completely, folding over her daughter as sobs shook her frame. Daniel looked away respectfully, giving them space. After a moment, Daniel cleared his throat gently. "Can we try something else?" he asked Lily, careful not to rush. Lily nodded slowly. "Okay," she said, though fear flickered in her eyes. Daniel placed his open palm a few inches from Lily's knee, not touching. "I'm not going to move you," he said, reassuring promise. "I just want you to imagine your leg getting heavier." Lily frowned. "Heavier?" she repeated, uncertain. "Like when you fall asleep," Daniel explained. Simple comparison. That warm, heavy feeling. Lily closed her eyes slowly. The room leaned in emotionally, everyone holding their breath. Seconds passed. Lily's breathing slowed. Deep concentration. Daniel watched closely, saying nothing. Patient silence. Evelyn's hands hovered, resisting the urge to interfere. "I feel warm," Lily whispered. Quiet amazement. Daniel smiled faintly, controlled joy. "Good," he said, steady encouragement. "Now tell your leg it's safe." One of the guests scoffed quietly, skeptical disbelief. Evelyn shot them a deadly look. Ice-cold warning. The scoffing stopped instantly. Intimidated silence. Lily's brow furrowed as she concentrated harder, mental strain. Her leg trembled slightly, visible effort. Evelyn gasped softly, gripping the edge of her dress, contained panic. Daniel lifted one finger, not to stop Lily, but to slow the moment. Calm signal. "Easy," he murmured, soothing tone. "No rushing." Lily nodded, biting her lip. Determined patience. The trembling eased, then steadied. Controlled progress. "I can feel it more now," Ow creeping into her voice. Growing wonder. Daniel nodded, confirming calm. "That's your strength," he said. "It never left." Those words pierced Evelyn like a blade and healed her at the same time. Bittersweet realization. Strength, not lost, just unheard. Shifting belief. Daniel slowly stood, careful not to startle Lily. Measured movement. "I'm going to do something," he said gently, preparing voice, "and I need you to tell me if I need to stop." Lily opened her eyes and nodded, trust building. He placed a chair behind Lily, not touching her yet. Strategic preparation. "I'm not asking you to stand," he said again. Clear boundary. "I just want you to lean forward a little." Lily swallowed, nervous anticipation. "What if I fall?" she asked, fearful honesty. Daniel met her gaze, steady eye contact. "Then I'll be right here," he replied, unshakable assurance. Evelyn moved closer instinctively, motherly instinct. Lily leaned forward slightly, cautious action. Her legs shook immediately, physical struggle. "I can't," she whispered, defeated fear. Daniel raised his hand again, pause signal. "You already did," he said calmly, reframing confidence. "Leaning counts." Lily blinked, surprised realization. Evelyn let out a shaky laugh through tears, relief and pride. "He's right," she said softly, hopeful support. Lily leaned a little more this time, renewed attempt. Her feet pressed into the floor, visible effort. The chair behind her creaked slightly as her weight shifted, audible tension. She wasn't standing, but she wasn't just sitting either, breaking boundaries. "I'm doing it," Lily whispered, disbelief turning to joy. Daniel nodded slowly, eyes shining but controlled. "Yes," he said, quiet truth. "You are." Evelyn covered her mouth, tears streaming freely again, overflowing gratitude. For the first time since Lily's diagnosis, she didn't feel like she was watching her daughter lose something. She felt like she was watching her begin something. The moment Lily realized she was holding herself up, even just a little, something inside her shifted. Her eyes widened and she froze, afraid that if she moved or breathed too hard, the feeling would vanish. I'm not sitting all the way," she whispered. Daniel stayed perfectly still, his voice low and steady. "That's right," he said. "You're between, and that's a powerful place to be." Lily swallowed hard, her small hands pressing into the floor as her legs trembled again. Evelyn stepped closer, her heart pounding so loudly she felt it in her ears. "Baby, you don't have to do this," she said quickly, fear rushing back in. "It's okay to stop." Years of terror spoke through her words, terror of falls, pain, and broken hope. Daniel gently raised his hand toward Evelyn, not touching her, just signaling calm. "She's in control," he said quietly. "Let her decide." Evelyn froze, tears spilling freely. Letting go was harder than trying. Lily took a shaky breath. "I want to keep going," she said, her voice trembling but firm. The room reacted instantly. Some guests leaned forward, others held their breath. The doctors exchanged uneasy looks, unsure whether to intervene or witness history. Daniel nodded once. "Okay," he said, "but we go slow, very slow." Lily nodded back, sweat forming on her forehead. Her legs shook harder now, muscles waking up that had slept for years. "Tell me what you feel," Daniel instructed gently. Lily clenched her jaw. "It feels heavy," she said. "Like my legs are full of rocks." Daniel smiled softly. "That's weight," he said. "That means they're working." Evelyn's knees weakened and she gripped the arm of a nearby chair to stay standing. She had heard doctors speak in numbers and limits. No one had ever called her daughter's struggle working. Lily's arms began to tire, her shoulders shaking. "I'm scared," she whispered. Daniel immediately responded. "That makes sense," he said softly. "New things are scary, but fear doesn't mean stop. It just means careful." One of the doctors stepped forward nervously. "Her muscles could seize," he warned cautionarily. Evelyn snapped toward him. "You said she'd never even try," she shot back. The doctor fell silent again. Daniel leaned slightly closer to Lily. "If you want to stop, say it," he reminded her. Lily shook her head slowly. Tears slid down her cheeks, dripping onto the floor. "I don't want my legs to sleep anymore," she said. Unlettered, raw honesty. Those words hit Evelyn like a punch. She pressed her hand to her mouth, sobbing quietly. Daniel closed his eyes for a brief moment, steadying himself. Then he nodded. "Okay," he said, confident and strong. "Let's wake them up together." Lily inhaled deeply. She pushed through her arms again, shifting more weight into her legs. The chair behind her scraped slightly across the floor. A few people gasped. Lily's knees buckled for a split second. "I'm falling," she cried. Daniel reacted instantly, stepping in just enough to steady her without lifting her. "I've got you," he said firmly, "but you're still doing it." Her feet pressed harder into the marble. Her legs shook violently, but they didn't give out. Evelyn's breath came out in a broken sob. "She's holding," she whispered. "Yes," Daniel replied without looking away from Lily. "She is." Lily clenched her fists, her face red with effort. "It hurts," she whimpered. Daniel nodded. "I know," he said softly, "but hurt isn't harm." The distinction landed deeply. Evelyn felt something shift inside her, years of fear loosening their grip. Lily let out a shaky laugh through tears. "My legs are yelling now," she said, amazed joy. Daniel smiled, eyes shining. "That's okay," he said. "They've been quiet a long time." The room filled with a strange mix of laughter and crying. "Okay, Lily," Daniel said after a moment. "When you're ready, we're going to lower back down." Lily looked panicked. "I don't want to lose it," she said quickly. "You won't," Daniel assured her. "Sitting doesn't erase progress." Lily hesitated, then nodded slowly. With careful guidance, she bent her arms and eased herself back onto the floor. The moment she sat, her legs collapsed beneath her. The room erupted, not in cheers, but in raw emotion. Evelyn dropped to her knees, pulling Lily into her arms. "You did it!" she cried. "You really did it!" Lily buried her face in her mother's shoulder, laughing and crying at the same time. Daniel stepped back quietly, giving them space. His own chest ached, tears blurring his vision. He wiped his face quickly, not wanting attention. One of the doctors finally spoke, his voice unsteady. "That shouldn't have been possible," he murmured. Evelyn looked up at him through tears. "Then maybe," she said slowly, steel in her voice, "you've been wrong." Silence followed, the stunned stillness. Lily pulled back slightly and looked at Daniel. "Can we do it again tomorrow?" she asked, hopefully. Daniel smiled gently. "If you want," he replied. Lily nodded eagerly. In that moment, the impossible no longer felt distant. It felt close enough to touch. Lily's breathing was still uneven as she rested against her mother, her small chest rising and falling quickly. Sweat clung to her forehead, and her legs lay limp again, as if nothing extraordinary had just happened. But her eyes were shining, bright, alive, awake. "I'm tired," Lily murmured. Evelyn stroked her hair gently, afraid that even touching her might break the moment. "Of course you are, baby," she whispered. "You were so brave." Lily smiled faintly. Daniel stood a few steps away, hands clasped together, unsure whether to speak or stay silent. His heart was still pounding hard in his chest, not with fear now, but with disbelief. He had hoped for something small, maybe a spark, maybe a feeling. He hadn't expected this. One of the guests finally broke the silence. "That was," he began, then stopped. Another shook her head slowly. Whispers rippled through the room. The doctors huddled together, voices low and tense. Evelyn lifted her head and looked around the room, her eyes red but sharp. "I think we're done for today," she said firmly. "Everyone out." The command carried no anger, only certainty. The guests hesitated, then began filing toward the doors. One doctor lingered. "She'll need rest," he said cautiously. Evelyn turned toward him slowly. "She's been resting her whole life," she replied quietly. The doctor swallowed and nodded, backing away. When the room finally emptied, the mansion felt strangely quiet. Lily shifted slightly in Evelyn's arms. "Mom," she said softly, "did I really stand?" Evelyn laughed through tears. "Yes," she said, "you really did." Lily's smile spread wider. "I want to tell Grandma," she said, excited hope. Evelyn let out a shaky breath. "We will," she promised. Daniel cleared his throat gently. "I should probably get back to the gate," he said. Evelyn turned to him instantly. "No," she said sharply, then softened. "I mean, please don't leave yet." Her voice trembled. Daniel froze, unsure. "I don't want to overstep," he replied carefully. Evelyn stood slowly, helping Lily settle onto a nearby couch with pillows. Then she faced Daniel fully. "You didn't overstep," she said, firm sincerity. "You did what no one else could." Her voice cracked. "And I don't even know how to thank you." Daniel shook his head immediately. "You don't owe me anything," he said, sincere modesty. Lily peeked over a pillow. "You're not a doctor," she said, childlike wonder. Daniel smiled softly. "No," he replied. "I just listen." Lily nodded seriously. "Doctors never listened like that," she said. Honest observation. Evelyn closed her eyes briefly, pain and guilt washing over her again. She had trusted systems, titles, and promises. She had forgotten to trust her child's voice. "Daniel," Evelyn said quietly, low, earnest tone, "why are you really here?" Daniel hesitated, then exhaled slowly. "My son," he began, soft confession. "He was in an accident when he was little." Evelyn stiffened. Sudden attention. "He couldn't walk for a long time," Daniel continued. "Painful memory. Doctors told me to prepare for limits." His jaw tightened, held in pain. "I didn't know how to prepare for that." Lily listened silently, eyes wide. "So what did you do?" Lily asked, curious voice. Daniel met her gaze, steady eye contact. "I sat on the floor with him every day," he said. "Quiet devotion. I didn't rush, I didn't force, I just stayed." Evelyn felt tears rise again, deep emotion. "Did he walk?" Lily asked, hopeful question. Daniel smiled, a mix of pride and sadness. "Yes," he said, gentle confirmation. "But more importantly, he learned he wasn't broken." The words hung heavy in the air, powerful truth. Lily looked down at her legs thoughtfully, reflective silence. "I don't think I'm broken," she said after a moment, quiet confidence. Evelyn covered her mouth, choking back a sob, overwhelmed pride. "No," she whispered, trembling voice, "you're not." A long silence followed, not heavy, but warm, peaceful stillness. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, casting soft shadows across the floor. Daniel finally spoke again. "If you want," he said carefully, respectful offer, "we can try small things, over time, no pressure." Evelyn nodded slowly, resolute decision. "I want that," she said, confident choice. "And Lily wants that." Lily nodded eagerly from the couch, excited agreement. "I do," she said, bright determination. Evelyn hesitated, then added, "I don't want you fixing gates anymore." Daniel blinked in surprise. "What?" he asked, disbelief. Evelyn stepped closer, serious intent. "I want you here," she said, firm invitation. "With us." Daniel swallowed hard, emotional conflict. "I need to think," he replied honestly. Careful truth. "I have a son." Evelyn nodded immediately, understanding. "Then bring him," she said, without hesitation, decisive generosity. Lily's eyes lit up, excited delight. "I'd like to meet him," she said, happy anticipation. Daniel smiled, his eyes filling with tears, overwhelmed gratitude. For the first time in years, he felt like life wasn't just surviving anymore. It was opening a door. That night, the mansion didn't sleep. Lights stayed on in quiet rooms, and footsteps echoed softly through long hallways. Evelyn sat beside Lily's bed, watching her daughter sleep, afraid that if she blinked too long, the miracle of the day might vanish. Lily's face was peaceful now, her lashes resting against her cheeks, her hands relaxed at her sides. Evelyn reached out and gently touched Lily's leg, almost expecting it to disappear under her fingers. "You really did it," she whispered. Tears slid down again, slower this time, warmer. For the first time since the diagnosis, she didn't feel like she was guarding a fragile glass statue. She felt like she was raising a child again. Down the hall, Daniel sat alone in a small guest room, elbows resting on his knees, staring at the floor. The mansion felt unreal to him, too quiet, too large, too clean. He rubbed his hands together nervously. Evelyn's offer echoed in his mind. "Bring your son." The words scared him more than any risk he'd taken that day. A soft knock came at the door. Daniel stiffened, then stood. He opened it to find Evelyn standing there. No makeup, no sharp edges, just a tired mother. "I hope I'm not intruding," she said quietly. "No," Daniel replied immediately. "Please." He stepped aside. Evelyn looked around the small room, taking in the modest bag, the worn shoes by the wall. "You live simply," she said, not judging, just noticing. Daniel gave a small shrug. "It's enough," he said. Evelyn nodded slowly, then clasped her hands together. "I couldn't sleep," she admitted. "Every time I close my eyes, I see her standing." Her voice broke. "Do you understand what that means to me?" Daniel met her gaze. "I do," he said quietly. Evelyn swallowed hard. "I've spent years believing control was love," she continued, "that if I just managed everything hard enough, I could protect her." Tears welled again. "But today, you let her lead." Daniel nodded slowly. "Kids know when they're being pushed," he said, "and when they're being trusted." Evelyn closed her eyes briefly. "I want to learn that," she said. Silence settled between them, heavy but honest. Then Evelyn took a breath. "I want you to stay," she said, again more clearly this time. "Not as help, not as charity, as family." Daniel stiffened. "That's a big word," he replied carefully. "I know," Evelyn said, "but Lily needs consistency, and so do I." She hesitated, then added, "And you need support too." Daniel looked away, emotion tightening his throat. No one had said that to him in a long time. "I can't promise miracles," he said quietly. "Neither can money," Evelyn replied sadly. The next morning, sunlight poured into the therapy room Evelyn had cleared overnight. Gone were machines and charts. In their place were mats, pillows, and open space. Lily rolled in, eyes wide. "It looks different," she said. "It is," Daniel replied. "Today, you tell us when to stop." Lily grinned. Evelyn sat to the side, hands folded tightly in her lap. She wanted to intervene, to manage, to fix. Every muscle in her body screamed to take control, but she stayed still. Daniel knelt beside Lily again. "How do your legs feel today?" he asked, gently checking in. "Tired," Lily admitted, "but awake." Daniel smiled. "That's enough," he said. They started small. Lily shifted her weight while seated. Her legs trembled, but she didn't panic. Evelyn's breath caught. Daniel noticed and raised a finger, not at Lily, but at Evelyn. Evelyn nodded and relaxed her shoulders. Minutes passed. Lily leaned forward again. She stopped herself before fear took over. "I need a break," she said assertively. Daniel nodded immediately. "Break it is." Lily leaned back, smiling. Evelyn felt tears spill over, not from fear, but from pride. This wasn't about standing anymore. It was about choice. Later that afternoon, Daniel called his son. "Hey, champ," he said softly, "how would you feel about visiting somewhere new?" A pause. Then a small voice replied with excitement. When Daniel hung up, his hands shook. Evelyn noticed. "He's welcome," she said gently. Daniel nodded, tears finally falling. For years, he had been strong alone. Now strength was being shared. The sound of a small suitcase rolling across the marble floor echoed through the mansion the next afternoon. Daniel's son, Noah, stood just inside the doorway, gripping the handle tightly with both hands. His shoulders were tense, his eyes wide as he took in the towering ceilings and shining floors. Daniel knelt beside him immediately. "Hey," he said softly, "remember what I told you? We take it one step at a time." Noah nodded, though his fingers tightened around the handle. Lily waited nearby in her wheelchair, watching him closely. Her heart fluttered with excitement and fear. Meeting new people had always been hard. What if he stared at her legs the way others did? Evelyn entered the room and crouched to Noah's level. "You must be Noah," she said gently. Noah swallowed and nodded. "I'm Evelyn," she added, "and this is Lily." Lily waved slowly. Noah hesitated, then waved back. "Hi," he said quietly. Lily smiled, relieved. "Hi," she replied. Daniel watched the exchange, his chest tightening. He had worried this world would swallow his son whole, but in that moment it felt smaller, safer. They gathered in the open therapy room, sunlight spilling across the floor. "No work today," Daniel said lightly. "Just getting to know each other." Lily glanced at Noah. "Do you like drawing?" she asked. Noah's eyes lit up instantly. "Yeah," he said. "I draw superheroes." Lily gasped. "Me too," she said. They sat together on the floor, paper spread between them. Lily shifted herself carefully from her chair, movements practiced and calm. Noah watched without staring, then simply handed her a crayon. Evelyn noticed and pressed a hand to her chest. This was the normal she had wanted for Lily for so long. As the children drew, Daniel and Evelyn stepped aside. "He's good with her," Evelyn whispered. Daniel nodded, eyes never leaving Noah. "He knows what it's like to be scared," he replied. Suddenly, Lily laughed, a real full laugh that echoed across the room. "Your superhero has wheels," she said. Noah grinned. "So he can go faster," he replied. Evelyn's eyes filled again. Lily wasn't being pitied, she was being understood. Later, Daniel suggested a small exercise. "Only if you want," he added quickly. Lily nodded, glancing at Noah. "Can he stay?" she asked. Noah straightened. "I can cheer," he said. Lily smiled. They moved to the mat. Lily placed her hands down, grounding herself. Evelyn felt her heart race again. Daniel noticed and met her gaze. She exhaled slowly. "Whenever you're ready," Daniel said. Lily leaned forward, shifting weight into her legs. Her knees shook. Noah's eyes widened, but he didn't panic. "You're doing it," he whispered. Lily held the position for 2 long seconds, then 3. Her breath came fast. "Okay, stop," she said. Daniel moved in smoothly, guiding her back. Lily sat back, chest heaving. Noah clapped once, then froze, unsure. Lily laughed. "That was good clapping," she said. Noah laughed too. Evelyn covered her mouth, overwhelmed, not by the movement, but by Lily's confidence. She hadn't asked if she was allowed to stop. She had decided. That evening, they ate dinner together at a long table that suddenly felt less empty. Noah talked excitedly about his school. Lily listened closely, asking questions. Evelyn watched them, heart full and aching at the same time. She turned to Daniel quietly. "I spent years trying to buy solutions," she said. "I never thought connection was the missing piece." Daniel nodded, quietly. "Healing doesn't like being rushed," he replied. Later that night, Lily lay in bed, unable to sleep. Evelyn sat beside her. "Mom?" Lily asked. "Do you think I'll walk one day?" Her voice trembled. Evelyn took a breath, choosing honesty over promises. "I don't know," she said gently. "But I know this, you're already stronger than yesterday." Lily smiled sleepily. Across the hall, Daniel tucked Noah into bed. "Dad?" Noah said softly. "Lily's really brave." Daniel smiled, brushing his hair back. "So are you," he replied. The mansion settled into a peaceful quiet. Not because problems were solved, but because something far more important had begun. Trust. Morning arrived softly, not with urgency, but with light. Sunbeams slipped through the tall windows and rested gently across the therapy room floor. Lily sat in her wheelchair near the window, watching dust particles float like tiny stars. Her legs felt different today, not stronger exactly, but more present. Daniel noticed the way she shifted, the way her feet pressed lightly against the footrests. "How do they feel?" he asked, keeping his voice neutral. Lily tilted her head, thinking. "Like they're listening," she said slowly. Evelyn, standing nearby with a cup of untouched coffee, felt her chest tighten. Listening. Not fixed, not healed. Listening. Noah sat on the mat nearby, drawing quietly. He looked up. "My legs feel tired when I run," he offered. "But then they get stronger." Lily smiled at him. "Mine get tired just thinking," she replied. Daniel smiled, then nodded. "That's okay," he said. "Today we don't chase big things." Lily blinked. "No standing?" she asked. "Not unless you ask," Daniel replied. Lily exhaled, shoulders relaxing. The pressure lifted instantly. Evelyn noticed and felt a quiet shame wash through her. She had spent years celebrating effort only when it looked like progress. Daniel rolled a small ball across the mat. "Can you trap it with your foot?" he asked casually. Lily stared at the ball. "Just stop it," Daniel added. Lily shifted slightly in her chair, lifting her foot just enough to intercept the ball. It bumped gently against her shoe and stopped. Lily gasped. "I stopped it," she said. Noah clapped loudly. Evelyn's eyes filled instantly. Daniel nodded calmly. "You did," he said, "and you chose when." They repeated the exercise slowly. Lily missed once. Her smile faded. Daniel didn't react. "Misses count too," he said evenly. Lily blinked, surprised. "Do they?" she asked. "They teach," Daniel replied. Later, Evelyn found herself sitting on the floor beside Lily, not hovering, not directing, just present. Lily leaned against her mother briefly. Evelyn resisted the instinct to adjust her posture, to fix her position. She stayed still. "Mom," Lily said suddenly, "why were you always scared?" The question landed gently but deeply. Evelyn swallowed hard. "Because I thought if I stopped being scared, something bad would happen," she admitted. Lily nodded slowly. "I understand," she said. "I was scared too. But when everyone was scared, it felt heavier." Evelyn closed her eyes, tears filling freely. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Lily squeezed her hand. "You're better now," she said simply. In the afternoon, one of the doctors requested to observe again. He stood near the wall, arms crossed, skeptical but curious. Daniel didn't acknowledge him. His attention stayed on Lily. "Want to try leaning today?" Daniel asked casually. Lily looked at Noah, then at her mother. Evelyn nodded once. Lily placed her hands on the mat and leaned forward. Her legs trembled almost immediately. Her breath quickened. 2 seconds, Daniel said softly. "Then we stop." 1, Lily whispered. 2, Daniel replied. He guided her back. Lily exhaled sharply, then smiled. "That was less scary," she said. The doctor frowned. "You're stopping too early," he said quietly. Daniel turned calmly. "No," he said. "We're stopping on success." The doctor said nothing. That evening, Lily sat with Noah on the couch, watching a cartoon. Her legs rested against a pillow. She absent-mindedly wiggled her toes. Noah noticed. "You're doing it again," he said. Lily looked down. "I didn't think about it," she whispered. Evelyn, watching from the doorway, pressed her hand to her chest. Overwhelmed gratitude. Unforced movement, unannounced progress. It felt different, more real. Later that night, Evelyn found Daniel in the kitchen, rinsing a mug. "You're changing her," she said softly. Daniel shook his head. "She's changing herself," he replied. Evelyn leaned against the counter, exhausted but lighter. "I spent so long trying to control outcomes," she reflected. "I forgot to protect her confidence." Daniel nodded slowly. "Fear teaches the body to freeze," he explained simply. "Safety teaches it to try." Evelyn absorbed that in silence. "Then stay," she said finally. "Not for results, for safety." Daniel met her gaze and nodded. Upstairs, Lily drifted toward sleep, her body tired in a new, satisfying way. For the first time, she didn't dream of standing. She dreamed of trying. The morning of the gala arrived wrapped in silence. The mansion buzzed quietly with preparation, staff moving carefully, voices lowered, shoes gliding across polished floors. This night mattered, not because of cameras or donors, but because Lily had asked one question before breakfast. "Will people look at me?" she had asked softly. Evelyn froze for a half-second, then she knelt in front of her daughter. "Yes," she answered honestly. "But not because you're broken." Lily studied her mother's face. "Then why?" she asked. "Because you're brave," Evelyn said. Lily nodded slowly, absorbing the words. "Okay," she replied. Daniel watched from the doorway. He said nothing. Noah stood beside him, holding a toy car, unusually quiet. The black car rolled up to the venue just before sunset. Lights reflected off glass walls, and distant music drifted through the air. Evelyn adjusted Lily's dress gently. Lily winced slightly. "Sorry," Evelyn whispered. "It's okay, I'll tell you if it hurts." That simple sentence struck Evelyn harder than any speech ever had. Inside, the room glittered. Crystal chandeliers, long tables, polished smiles. Conversations paused as Lily entered in her wheelchair. Some people smiled warmly, others stared too long. Lily felt it, her fingers curled tightly around the armrests. Daniel leaned down slightly. "Breathe with me," he whispered. Lily inhaled, exhaled. They moved through the room slowly. Cameras flashed softly. Lily's heart raced. She glanced at her mother. Evelyn smiled, not wide, not forced, steady reassurance. The host took the stage. Applause followed. Evelyn was invited to speak. She stood, smoothing her dress. Her voice trembled at first. "I built my life on control," she began. Murmurs quieted. "I believed if I controlled enough, I could protect my daughter from pain." Lily watched from below. Daniel remained still. "But I was wrong," Evelyn continued, "because protection without trust becomes fear." She paused, swallowing hard. "And fear took something from my child that no diagnosis ever did." The room fell silent. Evelyn turned toward Lily. "This week, my daughter taught me that courage doesn't come from forcing progress. It comes from feeling safe enough to try." Applause rose slowly. Lily felt her chest tighten, not with fear, but with pride. Then Lily raised her hand. Gasps echoed. The host hesitated. Evelyn's breath caught. "It's okay," Lily said clearly. "I want to say something." Daniel leaned forward slightly. "Only if you want," he whispered. Lily nodded. A microphone was brought to her. The room leaned in. "I used to think my body was broken," Lily began. Her voice shook, then steadied. "Everyone wanted me to fix it. But when everyone wanted me to fix it, I felt like I was the problem." Evelyn covered her mouth. "But then," Lily continued, "someone told me I could stop whenever I wanted, that I didn't have to be brave all the time. And when I felt safe, my body started listening. The room was completely silent. Lily looked down at her legs. "I'm still disabled," she said calmly. "I'm not broken." Applause erupted, louder, longer, unrestrained. Lily flinched at first, then she smiled. As the noise settled, Lily did something no one expected. She placed her hands on the armrests. Daniel stiffened slightly. Evelyn's heart stopped. Lily leaned forward. Her legs trembled violently. The room froze. "Lily," Evelyn started. "I know," Lily said calmly. "2 seconds." Daniel nodded once. Lily pressed her feet into the floor. Her knees shook. Her face tightened. 1 second passed, then 2. She didn't stand, but she didn't fall. Daniel guided her gently back. Lily exhaled sharply, laughing through tears. The room exploded again. Evelyn dropped to her knees in front of her daughter. She wrapped her arms around Lily, sobbing openly. "I'm so proud of you," she cried. Lily hugged her back. "I was scared," she whispered, "but I wasn't alone." From the back of the room, Daniel watched quietly. Noah clapped wildly, tears on his cheeks. That night didn't produce a miracle the world could measure. No headlines declared a cure. But something else happened. A child claimed her body, a mother released her fear, and an entire room learned that strength doesn't always stand. Sometimes it simply chooses to try. The mansion was quiet now, but it felt different. The walls seemed to hum softly, almost in rhythm with the slow, steady breathing of its inhabitants. Lily sat in her wheelchair near the fireplace, a soft blanket draped over her legs. Her eyes were distant at first, staring into the flames as if trying to memorize every flicker, every shadow. Evelyn sat beside her, hand resting lightly on Lily's arm. Her chest felt heavy but full. She hadn't realized until this moment that the journey they had just begun would require patience more than perfection. "You did something incredible today," she whispered. Lily's lips curved into a small smile, but she didn't speak immediately. "It was scary," she admitted softly, her fingers flexing slightly. "But it felt right." Her voice carried a mix of awe and wonder, as if discovering a new part of herself. Daniel entered the room quietly, carrying 2 mugs of warm cocoa. "I thought you might like this," he said gently, placing a mug in front of Evelyn and another on the small table beside Lily. His presence didn't feel imposing, it felt steady, safe. Evelyn looked at him, her eyes reflecting a mix of gratitude and disbelief. I don't know how to thank you," she said quietly, her voice trembling slightly. Daniel shook his head, settling into a chair nearby. "You don't need to thank me," he replied softly. "I already did the hardest part, letting her lead." Lily's eyes flicked up at him, curious. "Is that why my legs started moving?" she asked quietly, still not fully comprehending the miracle she had experienced. "Yes," Daniel said simply, "because you chose to trust yourself, and everyone around you gave you the space to try." He leaned forward slightly. "Strength isn't always about standing, it's about choosing to keep going, even when it's scary." Evelyn nodded slowly, tears pricking at the corners of her eyes. She remembered every doctor who had doubted, every specialist who had whispered caution, every moment she had felt powerless. And now, watching Lily, she realized that all those years of worry had almost stolen the one thing that mattered most, her child's courage. Noah shuffled quietly into the room, holding a small drawing in his hand. "I drew this for Lily," he said softly, his eyes bright with pride. Lily turned toward him, her face lighting up. "For me?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly with excitement. Noah nodded, holding the paper out. Lily took it carefully, her fingers brushing his. The drawing showed 2 superheroes, one with wheels, the other with a cape, standing side by side. "They're strong together," Noah said simply. Lily studied the drawing and smiled. "Just like us," she whispered. Evelyn felt her chest tighten, a lump forming in her throat. The sight of her daughter laughing, choosing friends, and embracing joy, it was a gift she had thought she'd never see. Daniel cleared his throat quietly. You know, every step forward, every tiny success, it all counts. And today, you've all made more progress than anyone realizes. Lily looked at him seriously. Even the tiny steps? She asked, seeking validation. Especially the tiny steps, Daniel replied firmly, because they're yours. The evening deepened, and the family, newly formed in more ways than one, sat together by the fire. Conversations drifted gently from dreams to silly jokes to stories of the past. Lily laughed at something Noah had said about superheroes catching villains with candy canes. Her laughter was different now, not nervous, not fearful, but free. Evelyn reached over and took Daniel's hand, a simple gesture of connection and gratitude. "You've done more than anyone could," she said quietly, "not by fixing her, but by believing in her." Daniel shook his head gently, a small smile on his face. "She did the believing herself," he reminded her. Truthful clarity. "I just gave her the space to." Lily, overhearing, nodded in agreement. "I felt safe," she said softly, gentle confession, "and I tried, and it worked." Her words were simple but profound, carrying the weight of her experience and the hope of every future day. Evelyn pressed her forehead to Lily's shoulder, holding her close. "I promise," she whispered, "I'll never make you feel small for being scared again. I'll always let you try, in your own way." Lily's small hands rested against her mother's, fingers squeezing gently. "I like that," she said quietly. Daniel glanced between them, his eyes softening. "Family isn't about perfection," he said gently. "It's about showing up, over and over, even when it's hard, even when it's messy." Evelyn nodded, finally letting herself relax completely. "Then we're ready," she whispered, "ready to face the world, not because it was perfect, but because they were together." Outside, the night settled softly over the mansion, stars glittering faintly in the sky. Inside, the warmth of a fire mirrored the warmth of hearts mending, growing, and opening. Lily leaned back against her pillows, eyes closing slowly. She thought of the day, the tiny victories, the laughter, the courage she had felt, and smiled. "I'm not broken," she whispered again, this time to herself, not for validation, not for anyone else, but because she finally believed it. Evelyn watched her daughter, the tears in her eyes now gentle, cleansing. "You've taught me more than I could ever teach you," she said, heartfelt acknowledgement. That courage isn't about never being scared, it's about trying anyway. Daniel stood quietly by the doorway, taking in the scene. His chest felt full in a way he hadn't for years, full of relief, hope, and an unspoken promise to be present. He realized that miracles weren't always in dramatic leaps or headlines. They were in moments like this, trust, patience, and love, quietly doing their work. Noah stirred slightly, tugging at Daniel's sleeve. "Dad," he said softly, "can we do this again tomorrow?" Daniel smiled, ruffling his son's hair. "Yes," he said, "we'll do it again every day we can." Lily opened her eyes slowly and looked between them. "Together?" she asked. "Together," they said, their voices overlapping, a promise that transcended words. The fire crackled softly, filling the room with warmth and light. Outside, the world continued, unaware of the quiet revolution happening inside. But inside, the family, newly whole, strengthened by courage and trust, had discovered something extraordinary, that hope could be nurtured, that fear could be tamed, and that love, patient and persistent, could create miracles in the most unexpected ways. And in that quiet mansion, under the soft glow of the fire and stars, Lily finally felt what it truly meant to be alive. She was free. She was brave. She was whole. And her story, one of courage, trust, and unwavering love, would echo in their hearts forever.